Do you know that hotel commercial where it's, I'm not a surgeon, but I did stay at it? That was us on the legal front. So let me first have you come in and clean up one thing we couldn't wrestle to the ground. Is it standard to tell the judge on what could be the second to last or last day of the cross-examination of the final witness that you do not know if you'll present a case or not? Not whether or not Trump will testify, but that you don't know yet if you're going to have a case.
It is not uncommon for the defense to say we don't know yet. And one of the arguments that the defense has for supporting that view is that they don't know fully what the state's case is. They don't see the full cross of Michael Cohen yet. So they can use that both legitimately and as a fig leaf to say we haven't made a firm decision. It also isn't unusual to say, Judge, we may have just one witness or two witnesses. Here, it's important to note that there were only 3 witnesses that they noticed as possible defense witnesses: Donald Trump, an expert, and Alan Garten, the general counsel of the Trump Organization. They did say that they're pulling the general counsel. Smart idea. He was kind of a disaster he testified in connection with the removal proceeding in Georgia. Just not a good idea here for a whole variety of reasons. And it is also typical to keep the prosecution guessing whether the defendant will testify. Strategically, one reason to do this, and I don't mean this in a pejorative way, is it keeps the state having to sort of go on 2 tracks of thinking about the summation and thinking about preparing for cross-examination.
What do you think? Do you think Trump testifies?
The prosecution is probably hoping he does. I think it would be a huge mistake. However, it is the defendant's decision. Just to be clear, it is not the lawyer's decision, and it would be very normal for Judge Merchan to make sure that's the case. It's very often the judge will actually turn, if you're the defendant, and say, Ms. Wallace, do you understand you have the right to testify, and are you making the decision not to, so that there isn't a claim later?
And Merchan's already had that conversation with Trump when he went out and attacked Merchan and made the opposite claim, that he'd been gagged.
Exactly, and said, that's not true. And he also said the same thing about, you're free to talk about Joe Biden, and to the extent you're saying it's gagging you from that, no, it's not. And that's another way of saying you're lying. But Judge Merchan's very polite, so he doesn't do that. But I think at this point he still would make sure. And why? Because you don't want to claim, if there's a conviction later, that he was denied his right to testify. So you never know with Donald Trump whether he's going to be like, I'm better than all my lawyers. He did that in the E. Jean Carroll case. That looks like what he did in the second trial, thinking I don't need Joe Tacopina. That didn't turn out too well. So it is possible that he will take the stand.
I mean, he always wanted to do it in the investigation you were a part of. He always wanted to go sit down with Robert Mueller.
What I would say, Nicole, is he always said that.
Right. And then he lied in his written responses. I'm trying to think of what else we sort of wrestled with. You were tardy.
I feel like a professor. It's like, I'm going to give you a grade.
No, traffic is insane today. There are a lot of graduations at Radio City. I'm wondering what you make of, I don't want to bash Todd Blanche, but I wonder what you make of how he might recalibrate to sort of get some wind in his sail again, and how the prosecution is preparing for what will be an incredibly re-efforted, revamped sort of last gasp effort at knocking Michael Cohen off his game.
Well, right now, if I am the prosecutor, I might be very tempted to do no redirect examination, which definitely signals that you don't think a glove was landed on him. And, and I don't think it was, in the sense that what his credibility issues in terms of, has he lied in the past? Has he committed crimes? We know that. So there's no redirect on that. It's like, did you really plead guilty? I mean, it's like, there's no reason to say anything. And so I didn't see Todd Blanche bringing out something that was so new or so different. I did partly because I know about the special counsel Mueller investigation. I did think there were some things that were, let's just say, misleading is a little strong, because I'm not saying Todd Blanche was sort of deliberately misleading the jury, but let's just say the full picture of what the facts were not presented. Just a quick example is he wanted to basically lay down enough facts to be able to tell the jury, he tells you that he lied under oath in Congress about the Russia investigation, but he also told you that at the time there was an investigation, he was told, don't speak to Donald Trump. And so all communication was cut off. And the suggestion is, so Donald Trump had no way of ever communicating to him what it is that he expected. So if he lied, it was just on his own. That's not how investigations work.
And there's all the testimony in the record already about the cutout of the back channel that Rudy Giuliani created. So.
Exactly, with Costello. I mean, that was
dramatic.
It's dramatic,
yeah.
And I hate to say it, but that it goes on in when you have gang cases, group criminality cases. Those cutouts exist, and so that's something Susan Hoffinger might do. I think Todd Blanche should try and figure out how to come up with themes and to telegraph them to the jury.
But it's Wednesday, and he said, NBC News reported on Monday that he'd spent months preparing for this. So you think today he should try to find some themes?
Yeah, no, I mean, look, I'm trying to.
No, listen, I didn't mean to put any guardrails around. I mean, I think that for Trump, who's obsessed with performance and appearance, who wanted John Bolton to shave his mustache, who liked the way Tacopina looked, even though he hated it. I mean, it was a stunning moment to be reading, and I couldn't see it, but to be reading along and see, and let me just say this as someone who's covered Michael Cohen now for years. I like Michael Cohen. There's plenty of material. And that he didn't have a case to make was amazing.
Nicole, not only is there a mountain, I mean, this is like the easiest cross ever. There's a mountain of material. And he decided to go
to TikTok,
to the capillaries instead of the arteries. Yeah. And the capillary was about him personally, and had the judge sustain the objection and basically gave him a tongue lashing at sidebar.
Yeah, so there's that.